Hi Cancer, welcome to a love reading for July 2020. It's Rena here. Haven't done a love reading. I don't think I did one last month. I don't do them every month anymore, but I like to mix things up, that's for sure. And this is for anyone who would like a message that relates to love in your life. Okay, and we're going to pick an additional card. Let's see which one. I'm going to pick two cards. Okay. The reason, there's just certain cards that I don't end my readings with because they don't resolve themselves. They're kind of open up a whole new can of worms, let's put it that way. But the heart of this reading is very positive, the Nine of Cups. I'm going to hold up the card, but I just want to say I'm recording this on the eve of the summer solstice. And I'm actually looking to the side here as the sun sets in the west, and it's absolutely golden. It's like this orange-yellow or yellow-orange color. And, you might say, well, duh, the sun is yellow, but it's very brilliant. And I don't know if that's a particular reason why, but, I'm sure that there's some kind of special power. I feel like it feels very heightened, the energies right now. So the heart of the matter for July is the Nine of Cups. And this is wish fulfillment, and so things that you want to come true in life. I would say if you have a particular person in mind that you are interested in, use that Cancerian power that you possess going into the month of July. A lot of you will be watching in June. And, do things that, if you're somebody who is single and you are really looking for this relationship that is what the Nine of Cups would represent, which is kind of that other pea in the pod, if you will. The cups relate to emotions. So the Nine of Cups is feeling, this is kind of the feeling in law of attraction. Even if you don't have it yet, you have to feel it as if you've already gotten it. Okay, so when I look at the Nine of Cups, rather than just looking at it as a predictive card, looking at it as something you can do, which is kind of putting yourself in that feeling place of joy, of satisfaction, of emotional fulfillment, and to bring that into your reality, into your physical reality. In the past position, we have temperance. Maybe you have been somebody who has become more awakened. If you are a Cancer who feels like you've undergone more of a spiritual awakening, or if you're somebody who always has felt that connection to spirit, maybe you have become more grounded, because that's what I see with temperance is that it's that balance between the two. And the reason this is important is because sometimes people who are in that spiritual place, they're not really paying attention to their surroundings. They're kind of out of tune. They're not attuned to their everyday life. And this is where we meet people. We meet people in everyday life. So sometimes the idea of being grounded means that you're, just plugged into things at all levels. You're not just up here. You're also, how they say in the world, but not of the world. But you still, they're saying in the world. And the people who are in the world sometimes have kind of requirements of a partner that are more materialistic, more about lust, and things like that, they're not really appreciating those soul qualities. So this is what we're talking about with balance, is being able to kind of go into each world when you need to, and seek that out in a partner as well. I would say typically, not always, but I would say typically a man learns this lesson when he starts to appreciate other qualities in a woman besides looks. And he sees the quality of somebody who has humility, who has a sense of integrity, and who he shares interests with. And, with a woman, that sense of, not just looking at somebody who is a material provider, which, Cancer, it's not that Cancer would ever be, labeled a gold digger or something like that, but you might just be thinking, I want somebody who can provide, who can nurture through the material, and provide that financial security, because that's something that's very important to you. So being able to transcend that and see that isn't going to cut it, that's not going to be enough. And the spiritual qualities, and especially if both people are undergoing an awakening, they can be a support system for each other. It's very hard when one person is, feeling that they are stretching themselves spiritually, and they're with somebody who is kind of either not interested and mocking them for even having those interests, or just not interested at all, and kind of indifferent to it. The higher message is the Queen of Swords, and this may be or I think in this particular context, is that by you, Cancer, if you're looking to attract love that really feels joyous and satisfying, you have to be able to become more detached. Cancer is a water sign, so just by virtue of that, you have a tendency to take everything very personally, but you in particular are very sensitive to other people's comments, attitudes, and make it about yourself. And while it's good to kind of be tuned into whether somebody is respectful of you and things like that, in general, if you get too caught up in protecting yourself, it becomes a thing where other people might feel that they're going to say the wrong thing. So you know how they say walking on eggshells? They feel like they're going to offend you because you may, because of your sensitivity, you may go, hey, wait a second. Because, the funny thing is, a Pisces person in the same boat would just suffer in silence. A Cancer person, maybe because you're a cardinal sign, you'll come and you'll give it right back to them. But the thing is that you will also do that for somebody else. You're very protective of other people as well. Sometimes Cancers are really funny. I've known Cancers who are very who can be thin-skinned, but they can really needle other people and kind of tease them and stuff about their little quirks. And then if somebody does that to them, they act very offended. But in general, I would say Cancers are very aware of being sensitive to other people, just like they feel protective of themselves. And that's a great quality. It's just that the more and this goes for everybody, because everyone is going to be subjective to one degree or another, because we're all individuals, so we all have our own reactions to things, and that's just, that's normal. But being able to take what somebody says and not automatically apply it to yourself, or feel like, hey, I think they might be trying to diss me somehow, will, in those initial stages when you meet somebody, that will allow you to give people the benefit of the doubt, because otherwise you might end up just having a very hard time finding somebody who doesn't trigger you in some way. And so that's how I see the Queen of Swords in this, where it's more like you have to become more detached from your emotions. What crosses you is the King of Wands. So this, I'm reading this as the reversed card. And this could be somebody, an ex. We are coming off of a Venus retrograde, and for the first 12 days of the month, a Mercury retrograde is in effect, and that can bring communication with somebody from the past. And this could be this King of Wands. Is this an Aries? I'm thinking maybe an Aries. I think that card is connected to Sag, not 100% on that, but fire energy. Aries, fellow cardinal sign, we've got Sag, and of course Leo. This person may be a narcissist, a bully. Perhaps you have been getting emotionally balanced. Maybe that's what the temperance card is about, and getting your life together. And this person, watch out if they're trying to come back into your life, because they may have been the one who left. And you may feel like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm okay after all. He came back into my life. And this person may have an irresistible aura or quality about him. I'm saying him because I'm reading it based on gender as a court card. He may be larger than life. He may be somebody who reminds you of your father, who is very virile. That was a word that came into my mind, but I was almost going to ignore it. But yes, and that's the thing about Cancer. Now, of course, I'm talking about Cancer. Well, I could be a Cancer man. You might like a virile man if you're a Cancer man. But speaking, in terms of the Cancerian woman, I guess you could say even with same sex. The point is that the Cancer is a feminine sign. So the feminine signs react well to that kind of energy, because they are willing to be more submissive. As terrible as that may sound, if I'm talking about a woman with a man, and that sounds like from the 1950s or something, it's just a fact of life, that there are relationships, even in this day and age, where the man is more the head of the household. And if that is the case, now again, I'm not saying that I'm in that type of relationship, but then again, I'm a Sagittarian, so I'm a masculine sign woman. But a feminine sign woman may be looking for this type of guy. But what you have to see, this is the trick, Cancer. If you are a woman, a heterosexual woman who is interested in men, you have to kind of be able to tell the difference, to discern between a man who has those qualities, but is still in that kind of, that who is an alpha male, but like a sensitive alpha male. They exist. I'm reading this as a reverse card, so this person is more controlling. The negative side of this type of a man is a bully, controlling, self-centered. These are like kind of the shadow aspects of fire energy, all of those things. So being able to see the good side of the fire or the king is important, so that you can, that you're not just going to accept anybody who comes across as cocky or what have you, and you think, wow, this person's really confident. Yeah, but that's the negative side of confidence, is being arrogant, thinking that you know it all, thinking that you're better than other people. That's not that's not true confidence. So, you know, sometimes it can get a little subtle, but I know that Cancers who are really tuned in can understand this, because water signs have just that intuition that allows them to, maybe it just like bypasses the intellect. It goes right into the gut and lets you know this person is bad news, this person's okay for me. What's coming in? Two of Swords, having to make a choice. The person is blindfolded. What does that mean? Denial. Refusing to see everything. You know, how can you make a choice about something when you really don't know, when you really refuse to see every aspect of it? So one choice would be going back to an old person. Now, the Nine of Cups, maybe the Nine of Cups has nothing to do with another person, but is simply your life feels like the Nine of Cups. You feel like you've arrived in some way. And here comes this person. You know, am I showing my age? One of my favorite songs by Dolly Parton, if you remember that song from the 70s, Here You Come Again. I love that song. And that's what, maybe I'll title the video that, because that's what happens, you know? That's what happens with these types of relationships. Now, if you're a single person and you're like, I don't have an ex who's the King of Wands, you know, in hell type of a person, and you're just like looking for love, what I said before, I said, you know, try to, you know, set an intention about this, that you really want that type of relationship that the Nine of Cups represents. You may not even think that that kind of relationship is something that is important, but it really is. It really is important that when you are with another person, that you have joyful exchanges, that you really feel this sense of camaraderie. I mean, maybe that's just my opinion, but as somebody who has been in a relationship for close to 40 years, almost 40 years now, like 38 years almost. Actually, it was almost 38 years. I think that I have some ideas about this, and I'm talking about something that lasts for a lifetime, or at least is more than a fling, is something that you can feel like you're going to build upon this relationship. And that's, like, to me, the most important thing. So that's why that card is in the centerpiece, that's the kind of thing to look for. And you can find, if you meet somebody and you think, I'm hitting it off with this person, that should feel like light. There should feel like a kind of a sense of affinity for one another. I know it sounds kind of like a no-brainer, but I don't know that everybody thinks that way. I think some people are more serious about relationships and they don't take that into account enough. Okay, so I did pick a few outcome cards because two of them are cards that are very you know, I don't want to say bad or anything like that, but one of them is the Eight of Swords. Now, you can just see, if you don't even know what the Eight of Swords relates to, you can tell that this person is trapped. The swords relate to our thoughts, so they're connected to air signs. Is the King of Wands actually somebody who is a Libra, something like that? I've been getting, you know, Cancer and Libra in recent readings, so I'm sure that there's a small segment that you're dealing with this person. So you feel trapped. Now, that might be something to do with this. If you're involved with somebody and you feel trapped, but you don't, I think that what is really going on is not having the self-esteem to leave. So how does the Nine of Cups fit into that? Well, there are multiple possibilities. One of them being that somebody has come into your life, possibly a water sign, another Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, who is more of a vibrational match to you. And so if the King of Wands is somebody either from your past or somebody who is, I mean, you know, when I say past, maybe it's on again, off again. And you feel like either they are intimidating or you just feel inexplicably drawn to them, or maybe they're the father of your child. With the king can be the father. That kind of thing can spoil your joy that you're feeling with the Nine of Cups. And so you may, and it's almost like they have this uncanny sense that when you have met somebody new, that now they're coming back into the picture, or when you start to have success in your life, that's when they're coming in. So you feel like learned helplessness could be the Eight of Swords, but it's really, to me, ultimately what you tell yourself about your life. So I picked an additional card, and I got the Five of Swords. This is a card that is associated with gossip or slander, and you can see people in the background. This person may be, I'm talking about if it's this individual, they may be two-faced. Maybe they are claiming to be one thing to you, but to other people they're smearing you. And the thing is that it's not about, oh, you know, my name is getting dragged through the mud, oh, that's so embarrassing. It's really ultimately about this person cannot be trusted. So I want to get that message out in case that King of Wands in reverse means anything to anybody, because in these love readings, it's sometimes people are trying to move on with their life, but they have these past relationships that keep them trapped. And the other thing too, with you know, with people who are single, you may be at a crossroads, and maybe that's what the Two of Swords is about. But this is really, to me, an internal thing. It's not something necessarily with you choosing between anybody. You may be single and there's nobody in the picture, and you're like, I don't have anybody, you know, on deck. I'm just totally doing my own thing. And what I feel about these cards for a totally single person is that you may need to do some more work on yourself. The Five of Swords could be that you have a tendency to choose people who are untrustworthy. And therefore, you know, what happens is you get that kind of an individual in your life because you're actively gravitating towards that kind of person. And you know, there's a phrase that is being used a lot, and I even heard it years ago, called blaming the victim. And I was just thinking about this today under completely different context. And it was kind of crazy making when somebody said that to me, because all I was saying was, you know, let's be proactive about how we can't control other people, what we can do. So for instance, if you attract people who tend to cheat on you, it's, you know, yeah, you could say it's not your fault that they are cheating. They are the ones, let's not blame the victim and say you need to choose better, but you do have to do it because you can't control and you can't mind read, and you don't ultimately know for sure that somebody's going to cheat or not cheat. But you do know that there are such a thing as patterns, and if you are attracted to a certain type of person who may have a greater propensity of cheating, then, you know, there you go. Or if you tend to get involved in three-party situations, that alone, maybe you're single, but you fall in love with people who are either they're married and you know that they're married, or, you know, involved with somebody else, or they tell you after you have fallen in, head over heels. Either one of those scenarios, you're dealing with somebody who is not very trustworthy because they're already they're showing you that they have the capacity to cheat. So that is on you in that sense. So it's just a very, it's kind of a subtle thing, but just kind of bringing that out. The final card that I picked was the Hermit card, and I like this because when I got these, look at these, I got 3 air sign cards, and that is all about drama, conflict, the mind. And you know what? Getting Buddhistic on you, the mind is the generator of conflict ultimately because of the thoughts that people think and the conclusions that they draw about life, about everything around them. So the point being that you don't have to think that way. You can choose another way of thinking, and once you change your life, everything around you changes. Even if you're involved with this King of Wands in reverse, that can lead to, just because that person may be trying to come back into your life doesn't mean you have to engage them in the same way that you did before. So if you choose to engage in these types of problem personalities in a different way, you will get different results for sure. So, okay, that's what I have for you. And, well, I wanted to say the Hermit is also connected to Virgo, so that may mean something to some people. But the idea of going within and not looking to the world to give you the answers. The Nine of Cups, like I said, could be your own success. You've had the North Node and the eclipses in your sign for the last couple of years, and maybe you've had some, breakthroughs, Cancer, and you feel on top of the world in a certain regard. Maybe like professionally, but then personally, you might be struggling in some way and feeling this sense of like, why can't my love life match my professional accomplishments? And that's where the Hermit comes in, about really like tracing everything to its source. Like, what is it that you need to do? What is it that you need to let go of? What do you need to bring into your life to make, to attract the ideal partner? So I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you'd like a personal reading, Cancer, please check below the link to my website, and have a great romantic month of July. Take care. Bye.